Hello, it's Monday the 28th of March and welcome to your 5-minute briefs from Seoul. I'm your host, Hee-Jin Koo. In our second installment of the month, we take a look at growing expectations for an economic recovery, despite the shadow of war still looming over Europe, as well as jitters over North Korea's launch of a brand new long-range ballistic missile. We start by taking a look at the areas in which Washington sees as US exports expanding in the South Korean market. LG Energy's plans to pour some $5 billion to expand EV battery plants in the US and Canada. Plus, we'll also explore Korean airliners' rosy outlook for international travel, South Korean retailers focus on overnight deliveries of fresh produce and meals, and fond childhood memories that have prompted 20 and 30-somethings to line up in the wee hours to lay their hands on some sponge cake. Let's begin our 5-minute roundup. Washington's top trade negotiator said there is still room for growth in the Korean market for US cars and beef as the two nations marked the 10th anniversary of their landmark Free Trade Pact. US Trade Representative Catherine Tai said Washington will focus on expanding opportunities for US auto and agricultural exports to Korea during a speech to mark the two nations' landmark deal. The ceremony was held at SK Siltron CSS, a wafer fab in Auburn, Michigan, acquired by South Korea's second-largest conglomerate SK Group in 2020. Last year, US automakers shipped $3.2 billion in US dollars worth of passenger cars and trucks to Korea, making the Asian nation its fifth largest export market. US exports of agricultural products to Korea also expanded by 35% in the past decade to $9.4 billion in 2021, making Korea its fifth largest buyer. Korea is the sixth largest trading partner for the US, with exports of goods and services to Korea growing 17% to nearly $70 billion US dollars since the agreement went into effect in 2012. And trade, along with investment, go both ways as South Korean companies expand their investment into the US and Canada. LG Energy Solution, a maker of batteries for electric vehicles, announced that it will pour a combined 6.5 trillion won, or $5.3 billion, into expanding its facilities in North America as part of its bid to overtake China's CATL and corner the world's EV battery market. The unit of South Korea's fourth-largest conglomerate LG Group on Thursday announced plans to build a 4.8 trillion won lithium-ion battery plant in Ontario, Canada, with car maker Stellantis, and a 1.7 trillion won cylindrical battery plant in Arizona, Texas, a first of its kind in the US. LG Energy signed a binding agreement with Stellantis, a multinational automaker with brands such as Dodge, Maserati, Fiat, Chrysler, Citroën, and Peugeot. The two will build an electric vehicle battery manufacturing plant in Windsor, Ontario, home to Canada's largest automotive cluster. LG will hold a 51% stake in the new joint venture. The new plant will have an annual production capacity of over 45 gigawatt hours to make lithium-ion battery cells and modules and create some 2,500 new jobs. Canadian Prime Minister Justin Trudeau touted the deal as critical to creating new jobs and putting Canada on the cutting edge of clean economy. The partners will break ground for the plant later this year, aiming to begin operation in the first quarter of 2024. That same day, LG Energy Solution announced plans to invest 1.7 trillion won to build its own cylindrical lithium-ion battery factory in Queen Creek, Arizona. The 11 gigawatt-hour facility is set to begin mass production in the second half of 2024, as its construction is set to begin in the second half of this year. Such cautious optimism is also spreading among other industries, namely airlines that operate international passenger flights, which suffered the brunt of the economic contraction stemming from the COVID-19 pandemic. South Korean airline companies are slowly expanding their routes and their frequencies, cautiously optimistic about a rebound in international travel this year. Airlines are increasing international services as South Korean authorities begin to ease quarantine rules for incoming passengers. Korea dropped its mandatory 7-day quarantine for vaccinated people arriving in Korea starting the 21st of March. Inbound passengers will no longer be required to isolate themselves if more than 14 days and fewer than 180 days have passed since their second shot, or if they have received 2 shots and a booster. Jeju Air, for example, saw its international passenger tally plunge last year to less than 1% of its total of 8.36 million passengers in 2019. The nation's largest budget carrier will resume its twice-weekly Busan Saipan service starting the 30th of March. Flagship carrier Korean Air plans to fly between Incheon and Narita 7 times a week, up from the current 6, starting in April. And starting next month, Asiana Airlines will resume its Incheon-Nagoya service exactly 1 year after suspending the flights. Turning now to the retail sector, South Korea's major online malls such as Naver are jumping on the overnight delivery bandwagon, playing catch-up with e-commerce firms Coupang and Market Kurly, which have already established themselves as specialists on dawn deliveries of online fresh produce and meal kits. Online shopping platform giants such as Gmarket and Interpark are making inroads into overnight delivery services, a market with a value of some 9 trillion won or $7.3 billion. Even offline retailers such as GS Retail, which specialize in convenience stores and neighborhood supermarkets, as well as organic produce specialist Chorongmaul, are trying to make forays in the area. Overnight deliveries of agricultural products have recently seen an unprecedented boom as customers feel more comfortable about ordering deliveries amid a protracted pandemic, and as Coupang and Market Kurly have been consistent about the quality of produce they deliver. Market watchers say that there's room for growth in the sector, as online sales of fresh produce still only make up for 28% of market revenue as of last year. The sector has seen exponential growth from a meager 1 trillion won to a whopping 9 trillion won this year, and is expected to grow some 11.9 trillion won next year. Coupang's share in the market stood at 2.3 trillion won, while that of Market Kurly stood at 2 trillion won as of 2021. And finally, Pokemon bread fever is sweeping the nation. Confectionery giant SBC Samnip has hit the jackpot with its rebranded re-release of a 1990s snack that's similar to a mini sponge cake containing random Pokemon character collectibles inside the packaging. SBC Samnip said it has sold more than 7 million rolls of Pokemon cake over the past month. It has been running its manufacturing lines at full capacity, trying to meet an influx of orders, with an average of 2.7 rolls flying off the shelf every second. The new release of the pastry, usually stocked at neighborhood supermarkets and convenience stores, was a mega hit among millennials when it was first released in 1998, but was discontinued in 2006. A package of the snack comes with a random sticker or seal of one of the characters from the global hit anime and video game series Pokémon. The latest release of the once hugely popular snack has prompted endless queues of eager buyers and collectors lining up outside stores, with some shops limiting purchases to 3 rolls per person. Adults in their 20s and 30s share their nostalgia about their childhood snack, uploading details of their agonizing search and gleeful success in snapping up their prize on social media. That wraps it up for this episode of 5 Minute Briefs from Seoul. This has been Heejin Koo for KBSI. Have a good day.